You're listening to the REI Marketing Nerds Podcast, the leading resource for real estate investors who want to dominate their market online. Dan Barrett is the founder of AdWords Nerds, a high-tech digital agency focusing exclusively on helping real estate investors like you get more leads and deals online, outsmart your competition, and live a freer, more awesome life. And now, your host, Dan Barrett.
All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of the REI Marketing Nerds podcast. As always, this is Daniel Barrett here from AdWordsNerds.com, and I want to get straight into it this week because for the next few weeks, we are doing a very special series. The audio from the podcast this week and for the next few weeks is going to be from a series of video trainings that I did that's called Big Fish, Small Pond, Stop Losing Deals and Beat Everyone to the Seller's Door. This was a multi-day, in-depth training I did with a very small group of investors, all about how you can stop losing deals even when your market's being invaded by iBuyers and a million different investors, how you can stop losing those deals, get to the sellers first by using this strategy I'm calling the Big Fish, Small Pond strategy. This is going to be a multi-video series and it's going to be a multi-podcast series. So if this is, the third one or the fourth one or whatever, go back and find the first one and listen to it. If you're lucky enough, this is just the first one. Watch out for it each week. These are going to be very, very special. I mean, this was a really high quality training that we did. I'm extremely proud of it and I can't wait for you to check it out. So without any further ado, let's get into the Big Fish, Small Pond training series. All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome. This is Daniel Barrett and welcome back to the Big Fish, Small Pond training series. I am super excited to have you and really looking forward to this video because we're going to keep getting into more and more nerdy stuff. We're going to keep moving you forward. It's a really fun and exciting process. At least I hope you think so. It's definitely fun for me. So let's get into this. I just want to spend a little bit of time recapping what we went over in our last video. And I'm going to put the link to that video below here. So just in case you missed it, go back and watch that one first. So in our last training, we talked about how the first pond that we want to tap into to get motivated sellers coming to our offer every day is going to be Google Ads. We're going to use Google Ads to sort of move fish from the big pond where all the sharks are into our small pond where we're hanging out and where we get to be the big fish. Now, here's a couple of reasons why we start with Google specifically. Number one, doesn't matter what market you're investing in, you are going to find motivated sellers on Google, right? So according to Google, interest in the search term sell my house has hit an all-time high. There are 3.5 billion, that is billion with a B, searches on Google every day right now. There are more people searching for real estate investors than at any time in human history. So it doesn't matter whether you're on the East Coast, doesn't matter if you're on the West Coast, it doesn't matter if you're in a small town, doesn't matter if you're a big city, there are sellers everywhere on Google. Now, the number two reason why we start with Google is that when sellers decide they want to sell to a cash buyer, the first thing they do is Google it, right? We're not talking about sellers who are like thinking about selling or considering their options. Often the sellers that we talk to who find us or find our clients on Google, they've decided they want to sell without going through a realtor and they want to sell to a cash buyer who can take the property off their plate without hammering a single nail and close fast. That's what they want, right? So unlike a lot of deal sources, like, if you've got like direct mail, you've got cold calling, you've got bandit signs. With those, you can really never tell whether someone's ready to sell to a cash buyer or if they're like kind of just considering that as an option. With Google Ads, we can target specific keywords that motivated sellers use to find cash buyers and get our ads in front of them, right? Rule number three, or reason number three, I should say, Google Ads bring in a consistent flow of leads day in and day out. It's like a faucet with running water, right? You can turn it up, you can turn it down to fill up your CRM with leads. If you've got a big bill coming up and you want to close a couple more deals this month so that you don't get into a cash crunch, you can add more keywords to your account You can scale up the area that you target, you scale up your budget, and you can get in front of more motivated sellers. Or if you are busy with a rehab and you don't have time this month to start a new project, you can simply turn off a bunch of the ads and keep some leads trickling in, and then you can turn it back up whenever you want again, right? So, after we talked about why we do all this stuff, I walked you through step-by-step opening your Google Ads account and getting it ready to start adding keywords and running ads. So you should all be set with that. So today we're going to go over getting our ads in front of motivated sellers looking for cash buyers on Google. And we're going to do that by doing some keyword research. And we're also going to take a look at the secret sauce that's allowed my company specifically and allowed my students to generate more than 36,000 leads for investors over the past 5 years. It's a number I'm really, really proud of. So we're going to get into all of that. So why is any of this important to you? Why do you want to spend time looking up keywords? Why should you stick around in this video and actually follow me through this process? Well, what we're going to cover in today's video could mean the difference between getting a yes or a no to your discounted offer from a seller, right? And it's the one thing we can't control, but makes all the difference when it comes to how many sellers you need to talk to in order to get a deal. So today we are going to go over getting our ads in front of motivated sellers looking for cash buyers on Google. And we're going to do that by doing some keyword research. And we're also going to take a look at the secret sauce that has allowed us and our clients, our students, to generate more than 36,000 leads for investors over the past 5 years. Okay. But why is any of this important to you? Right? Why do you want to spend time watching this video? Why should you spend the time going through this process with me and looking up keywords? Well, what we're going to cover in today's video can mean the difference between getting a yes or a no to your offer to the seller. And it's the one thing that we can't control, but makes all the difference when it comes to how many sellers you need to talk to in order to get a deal. If you are doing cold calling or even doing direct mail or bandit signs, you probably know what I'm talking about right now. All right, investors, a lot of time they're dialing like 4,000 numbers. They're talking to hundreds of sellers just to get one appointment. It is absolutely brutal. So how come investors getting leads from Google only need to talk to 10 to 15 sellers to get a deal, while investors doing cold calling or direct mail or bandit signs have to talk to 50 or 75 or even 100 sellers to do one deal? Like, why is it so different on Google than in those other marketing channels? Well, it all has to do with timing. It all has to do with timing. And here is what I mean, right? There's a concept by Eugene Schwartz, who's one of the most famous advertisers who's ever lived, called the 5 levels of customer awareness. All right. And basically what this means is, how aware is your prospect of their problem and the solutions available to solve their problem? All right. The awareness levels, basically, they break up like this. We've got most aware, which is all the way up at the top. Here it's labeled as customers, right? These are the sellers who know you by name and have already decided they want to work with you, and they just need to know what the offer is. All right. Below that, we've got product aware. These are sellers that know what you do, right? They know what investors do, but they're not sold on you being the one just yet. They're considering your competition, right? They're just not sure if your solution is the best for them. We've got solution aware. These are the sellers who have decided they want to sell their house to a cash buyer, but they don't know about you. They don't know you're out there yet. Now we've got problem aware sellers. These are sellers that recognize their house has become a big problem and they need to sell it, but they don't know there are investors who'd buy their house for cash, right? They just don't know that selling to investors is an option. And then finally, you've got unaware sellers. These are the homeowners who don't know they have a problem. Right? They simply don't know that a better way exists. If you have like a new product that addresses a major drawback of previous solutions, many of your prospects are probably at that level. They just don't know that your solution is a thing. All right. Now let's take a look at how this works in the real world, in the actual like sort of marketplace that you as an investor are going to be entering into. Let's start with the unaware stage, right? Let's say John owns a house in Tampa, Florida, beautiful place. I was just down there recently. And, John got a job offer in New York and he needs to relocate. All right. So John lives in Tampa and needs to relocate to New York. Now for John, since the company is paying for his apartment in New York, he doesn't have a need to sell and he doesn't think it's a problem to keep his house empty, right? So he is unaware that he has a problem. And in fact, let's say he's He's excited about the hike in house prices in the area and he wants to ride it all the way. Okay. Now, because John and his family moved out of the house, after a few weeks, his name sort of makes it on the vacant house mailing list. And investors start pummeling him with yellow letters, and they send him postcards, and they're cold calling him, and they're driving by his house. They're slapping a sticky note on the door, like whatever they're doing, right? What do you think goes into John's mind when he sees all these letters and gets all these phone calls, right? Well, the first thing he's going to be is angry. He's going to be angry and frustrated about how all these investors, right, got a hold of his info and they keep calling him and they keep going to his house. He's going to be angry about that, right? And this is why most investors doing direct mail, cold calling, they're butting heads with a lot of angry sellers. And it's because these sellers don't even think they have a problem, right? Just because they're on a list doesn't mean they know they have a problem. So they're just wondering why why the heck are all these people calling me? Why are all these people sending me mail? And that's why you find investors, they're like dialing 4,000 sellers to get a single deal. It's because they're talking to a lot of unaware sellers. Now, continuing on with this example, right? Let's say 3 years go by and John, the guy from Tampa that had to relocate in New York, 3 years have gone by. John's living in New York. He's barely been back to Florida once or twice ever since. Okay. So he's just settled in New York. And then one afternoon, he receives a phone call from his neighbor back in Florida, letting him know somebody just tried to break into his old house. Okay. So John, he books a flight to Florida to go check on the property. He gets there. He opens the door. He looks around. There's nothing missing. Everything seems to be where he left it, but the house is it looks all worn out. There's dust everywhere, right? There's spider webs. There's like cobwebs everywhere. You can imagine no one's been there for 3 years, right? So John decides, I'm going to spend a couple of weeks repainting the house. I'm going to change up the carpet. I'm going to get everything up to date. All right. So then after a couple of days, he's working on it and he starts coughing, his itchy eyes, his eyes are all watering, his sneezing, his throat hurts. And he's just like, I don't know what's up with this, right? I've never felt like this before. So he walks up to the attic to check it out and he notices the paint is like bubbling on the wall next to the door, right? It's like bubbling. It's like literally like all gross. And he's like, what's that? What's that all about? So then the moment he opens the attic door, he gets hit with this like disgusting smell, this like rancid, the whole attic smells like wet socks. So he turns his head, he looks up at the ceiling and it's all grayish and yellowish. And if you are a real estate investor, you know what this means, right? He's got mold, right? So now he's got mold in the attic. So John calls a mold removal service and he's got the expert to come out and assess the damage. And the mold removal guy gets out there and he spends like 20 minutes digging around the attic. And then he comes out and he goes to John and he says, look, this one's going to cost you at least $5,000. The whole thing's filled with mold. We got to change everything out. And now John is like freaking out because now he's going to come up with $5,000. Right. So with the cosmetic repairs and the mold, John's looking at like $10,000 to fix up this house he doesn't currently live in. Right. So what is John now? John is now problem aware. He knows he has a problem. He's got a big, hairy problem on his hands and he doesn't have the money to fix it. So if you called John at this time and offer him a discounted offer, well, he's probably not going to get angry with you. Right. He's not going to get angry with you in the same way that he would have when he was unaware, but he hasn't decided yet if he wants to sell. Like he knows there's a problem, but he doesn't know what he wants to do with it. Right. So the next time you talk to a seller who's got a problem, but they say, that's right. But, we haven't decided if we want to sell or not. They're still at this stage, this problem aware stage. And the deal is probably not worth your time. Right. At least not yet, because they're still on the fence, right? So let's move up to the next section. Let's think about solution aware. So at this point, John, our wonderful person from, Tampa, he relocated to New York. He left the house vacant because he wanted to ride the housing market, came back, it's filled with mold. He's got to put $10K into it just to fix it up. Now at this point, John doesn't have the money to put into fixing the house or even the time because he's still got his job in New York, right? He's got a life he needs to get back to. So John heads over to his neighbor, tells him what's going on, and his neighbor suggests like, hey, well, listen, like, why don't you just sell the house, right? Like prices have gone up since you bought it and it's a good time to sell. So plus you'll probably find someone who could just take it off your hands and fix it all up. And John's like, Oh, all right. Well, if I could get a good price for it, that would be awesome because then I don't have to deal with any of this, right? So then John starts researching all the different ways he can sell his home. Like he's like, oh, I could for sale by owner, I could sell it through a realtor, or I could sell it to a cash buyer, right? So given that he doesn't have the money to fix it, listing it with a realtor at this point, who's going to take a 6% commission and demands the house be fixed before they'd list it, is pretty much out of the question. Right? It's just not really an option for him. And selling the house for sale by owner takes a really long time, and retail buyers are really demanding. And remember, like, time is a big part of it because he needs to get rid of the house and he needs to get back to New York to get back to his job. So at this point, John is like, okay, look, selling to a cash buyer is probably the best option. All right. So now, right at this point, John is what we call solution aware. Right? So if you, as an investor, you are looking to talk to sellers who have a pain, right? Who have a pain point, who are in a rush to sell, and they are willing to take a discounted offer if they get cash and they get sort of out of that situation quickly, right? These are solution aware people. These are the people you want to be spending 99% of your time talking to, because this way you can skip talking to all the tire kickers and only spend your time talking to truly motivated sellers. And this is where Google ads shine, because it gets your ads in front of sellers that are truly solution aware. They're not looky-loos. They're not tire kickers. They are aware they have a problem, and they're aware that there's a solution for it, right? That's why our clients close at least one deal for every 10 to 15 sellers they talk to. Right? I think the national average is 12 right now for our clients and students specifically. It's not magic, because they're not wasting their time talking to sellers who are still thinking about it, right? Or worse, they don't spend time convincing sellers who have decided that selling on their own or through a realtor is the best option, because nothing's less fun than trying to argue someone out of a position that they came to themselves, right? That's not really what we're about. We should be about helping people.
Want to find motivated seller leads online, but don't know where to start? Download our free 2019 Motivated Seller Keyword Report today. AdWords nerds have spent over $5 million this year researching the most profitable keywords for finding motivated seller leads. And you can grab these exact keywords when you download our report at www.adwordsnerds.com/keywords.
So sellers like John typically use search terms like sell my house cash or something similar to that, right? And you want to target those specific sellers with your ads. You're not going to target keywords that are geared towards unaware people or problem aware sellers, right? We're not just going to go after like sell house, right? We want to go after keywords that are geared towards solution aware sellers or people higher up the pyramid, right? And that's where our $6 million keyword list comes in handy, right? So over the past 5 years or so, we spent $6 million on ads for our clients, right? Figuring out which keywords are geared towards solution aware sellers or higher and which aren't. So we've literally tested tens of thousands of keywords over the last 5 years. And we basically distilled all that down to just the 200 to 500 main keywords that we give our clients so they can get in front of motivated sellers who say yes to their lowball offer without wasting any money on keywords that don't get them deals. Literally, it's like the top 15 to 20% of all keywords. That's what we focus on. So when clients in my Search, Click, Convert Bootcamp use our list of keywords, we are literally saving them tens of thousands of dollars on testing which ones are going to work. And we're only giving them the ones that are going to do well from the start. And we are the only people with that list, literally, because we had to spend the money to build it. We didn't get it from someone else, right? So there's no way you can get that kind of list without spending millions of dollars on ads. It just doesn't happen that way. So that's one of our key competitive advantages over other investors who try to compete with us, right? Like we know ahead of time which keywords get us motivated sellers who are in a rush to sell at a discount and which ones are duds. And we start our students and our clients off with the best possible set of keywords that they can start with. Now, the next stage up the keyword, the product pyramid here, the awareness pyramid, is the product aware stage. Now, let's go back to John. Remember, John's Tampa. He moved up to New York, left the house vacant, came back. There's mold in the attic. All of a sudden, he needs to put $10,000 in. And he's like, look, I need to get rid of this house. He can't really sell to a realtor because he can't pay for the repairs. He doesn't want to do for sale by owner. It's going to take too long. So he wants to sell to a cash buyer, right? So since he has decided he wants to sell to an investor, John goes to Google and types in sell my house to an investor or, one of however many other similar search terms. And he lands on a page and sees 4 I buy houses ads at the top of Google and all the other organic search results, right? So he just types it into Google and he sees what he sees. So John clicks on a couple of the ads and let's say your ad happens to be one of them. So he goes to your website, he checks it out along with a couple of your competitors, right? So John is now what we call product aware. He's aware that you're a real estate investor and someone he could potentially approach for an offer, but he's not yet sold on you being the one, right? He's also checking out your competition. And so that moves us up to the most aware stage. On this, it says customers. You just think of this as like sellers, people that are most aware. Now, at this stage, if you've done a good job with your website and it's optimized for higher conversions, like our clients' websites, John will be compelled at this point to reach out to you first for an offer before your competition, right? So John is what we now call most aware. He's decided you are a legit investor and someone who can help him get rid of his house. And he just needs to know what you can offer him. He needs to know the price. He needs to know the terms, whatever. But he's basically decided that you are the one. So now you can see, right, why timing is one of the biggest factors that makes all the difference between getting a yes or a no to a discounted offer. Can you now see how powerful Google Ads is when it comes to getting in front of sellers who are in a rush to sell and are actively looking for an investor to help them, right? Can you see why a lot of the other deal sources, like cold calling, like Bandit Signs or whatever, don't get your phone ringing with truly motivated sellers? And can you see how instead of talking to 50 or 75 or 100 sellers to get a deal, now you only need to talk to 10 to 15, more or less, right? Depending on how you close. Can you see why timing is so critical in all that? Now, look, I'm saying Google is great and I'm saying all these things. So you may be wondering, like, if Google Ads works so well, why doesn't everybody use it? And that's a really great question. And the honest answer is it takes a lot of money to make Google Ads work. If you are starting from scratch, like if you don't know what's happening, you don't know anything about it, you don't have a starting point, it can be very difficult. And what I mean is like, there are thousands of different keyword variations to test. Literally, if you think of like any term, there are 3 or 4 variations of just that term. And to get any meaningful data, you're going to want to spend at least $500 or more to test each keyword. So if you run the numbers, this basically costs you close to $50,000 before you know for sure which keywords work and which don't. It's not an easy way to get started if you have no way into that world. And so that's why, right, like when clients come into the Search, Click, Convert Bootcamp, they pay us good money for our $6 million keyword list and our training because it saves them tens of thousands of dollars in wasted ad spend and shaves years off the testing process. And I know that for a fact because I had to go through it the hard way. That's how we got the list in the first place, right? So with our secret list in the student's hand, they can skip that trial and error and instantly get their ads in front of solution-aware sellers who are actively looking for an investor to sell their house to, right? So look, it's great for our clients to have the secret keyword list and everything. And, that's all well and good. But what do you do if you're someone who's just starting out with Google Ads and you don't have the list, right? If I'm saying this list is awesome, what do you do if you don't have the list? Well, the second best option is doing competitor analysis using a tool called Moz. Now, with this tool, you can literally spy on your competition, figure out which keywords people are bidding on, figure out which keywords people are searching for. And then when you see that people have been bidding on a certain keyword or there's a certain amount of competition, there's a high chance that that's a good keyword to go after. Now, I'm going to be the first person to say, right, this is not a foolproof process. There are a lot of people and agencies who have no business running ads on Google, dumping a buttload of money on the wrong keywords and losing their shirt because of it, right? So take this research with a grain of salt. Also remember, like, all tools are general tools and they're not going to give you as exact data as we would be able to give you. but we can get into this. We can get into this right now, and I can show you how you could do this, right? So let's roll up our sleeves. Let's do some keyword research so you can select the first 5 to 10 keywords that you're going to bid on and start getting motivated seller leads. And that's really all we're going to try to do right now is pick like 5 or 10 keywords that are really going to like change the way that our business works. So let me just open this up here. Now, Moz is the tool we're going to use. That's moz.com, moz.com. Now you can actually try right here. You're going to sign up for a free Moz Pro account. That's what I'm going to have you do. So you can do this at no cost. Now, Moz is a great tool. If you end up deciding you want to pay for it, that's awesome, but you don't need to. You can do everything within here. And actually everything I'm going to do is within a free account. So first thing I'm going to do is go up here. After you've signed up and everything, you've created an account. There's nothing fancy there. We're going to go up here to Moz Pro, and we're going to go to Keyword Explorer, which is one of the options right there. All right. Now it's going to take us to this wonderful looking screen here. Now, the thing that we're going to do is we are going to do Explore by Keyword. That's over here on the left. And specifically, we're going to do keyword suggestions. Okay. So this is in keyword research, and it's down here, keyword suggestions, which is under the Explore by Keyword. All right. Now, what I'm going to do is pick a sell house keyword, but because I'm trying to get some specific local information, and by default, what Moz is going to show me is national keyword information, I want to include what's called a geo-targeted keyword, which in fancy words just means I'm going to say where I'm looking, right? So for example, I'm in Connecticut. So I'm just going to type in Connecticut as my market. If you're in like St. Louis, you type in St. Louis. You're going to do like Florida, you do Florida, right? So in this thing right here, I'm going to do sell my house, Connecticut. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and click the magnifying glass icon. That's the word. All right. Now it's going to, by default, all these settings are going to be fine. What I'm going to do is I'm going to sort by relevancy. All right. And I've got a whole bunch of keywords right here. So what I've got here is a couple things that we really want to think about. I've got the relevancy, which is like how close to this keyword do we want this to be? And ideally you want this to be pretty high. So like, 4s are fine, but anything that drops down to like 3, you're really going to have to think about. We're just talking about like blue dots here. We've got monthly volume, which is going to be a sort of like a guess. Now, remember, the monthly volume is national. So your local volumes, it's going to vary to a significant amount than what you're showing here. So it's not necessarily really accurate in terms of how many searches they're going to be. But what it does is give you a sense of like relatively what the volume is going to be. So like, for example, this guy, houses for sale in Connecticut, has a lot more than sell my house in Connecticut. Now, even though this says 0 to 10, that's not accurate. I don't really think there's going to be 0 people searching for this, but it gives me a sense of like, oh, this one is much smaller than this other one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through here and I'm just going to look at these. And what I'm going to do is try to figure out like, okay, based on these keywords, what do I think lines up with, just like we were talking about, right? Solution aware sellers. How do I know that I'm going to get in front of those people? So like this one, sell my house fast, Connecticut. Really good example. To sell my house fast, they know they have a problem. They know they're aware of a solution, right? Need to sell my house in Connecticut, sell my house in Connecticut. These are probably good. We buy houses in Connecticut. That's good. Houses for sale. Now, houses for sale in Connecticut is a good example. What do I think that's a seller or a buyer? I think it's a buyer, right? Houses for sale in Connecticut. So I'm going to leave that one. We buy houses, CT reviews. That's a good one. Companies that buy houses for cash reviews. Companies that buy houses in any condition. Connecticut, we buy houses reviews. Cash for home, CT. These are all great. Cash for houses reviews. So by the way, who is looking for cash for houses reviews, right? People who are aware they want to sell to an investor and are doing research on those companies. These are the perfect people to get in front of. Now, are there going to be hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of those people every month? Probably not, right? But when I get in front of them, they're going to be really, really powerful. We buy houses, Hartford CT. We buy houses, buy my house cash. So a lot of these are really, really great. I'm just going to kind of skip down the list. Sell us fast, Connecticut. House addresses in Connecticut. That doesn't make any sense to me. How do I sell my house in Connecticut? That one might be like for sale by owner, right? I'm going to keep those selected. Now, just to show you something else you could do, I can also sort this by monthly volume, and I can look at what gets the highest monthly volume. Now, We Buy Ugly Houses, I can see here that this has a lot of searches, but remember that's because it's national. But I probably want to include that because that's got a lot of people searching for it. And even though this is national, not just in Connecticut, it's probably going to be pretty valuable to me. Like We Buy Houses, Realtor.com CT, I might target that, right? We Buy Houses San Antonio, I don't need that. We Buy Houses for Cash, We Buy Ugly Houses Reviews, companies that buy houses. So a lot of these, right? Now, Express Home Buyers, I happen to know they're in Maryland. I don't want that. Remember, these are national, right? We Buy Houses Ripoff. That's a good one, right? So I'm going to go through this list and I'm going to select all the different ones. And it's going to take you a little while, but you're going to select these in a way that like you say like, hey, these are the ones that I want. Now you can export these keywords to CSV. CSV is just like a spreadsheet. I can open this up. It should open up. Oh no, I don't want you to open up in Numbers. Oh, whatever. Numbers is terrible. Let's do this. Let's go into the downloads and I'm going to open this up with Excel because Excel is better. Now I have all these keywords that I selected. Remember, you go through the whole list, you select the ones that you want, and you can come here into Excel and you can think about, hey, what do I want to look at, right? You can sort of bring this data in here and you can really think about this at your own leisure. Just kind of go through. Now, my goal would be looking at the relevancy and the volume, okay? You want to pick 5 to 10 keywords that are going to be the ones that you're going to start with. Now, I would kind of split it. I would do half really high relevancy keywords and maybe half high volume keywords. And that's going to give you a really good mix. Now, remember, you're not trying to guess every single keyword that's going to work. You're not going to run 100 keywords right off the bat because you have to test all these. You just want 5 to 10 that are going to get you started, get some data coming in, start helping you get leads. And that's really all you need to start. So make this easy on yourself. Just pick out 5 to 10. Don't worry about nailing it. Just get something down that you think makes sense for you. Do half high volume, half high relevancy. And that should take you most of the way to getting that set. All right. Now, we just did a bunch of keyword research, right? So you've set up your Google account. We talked about timing and why it's important to go after the right types of sellers. And now you're picking 5 to 10 keywords using that Moz system that you can get into for free, picking 5 to 10 keywords that are going to match you up with just the right types of sellers. So up next, we're going to talk about how to write ads that actually get motivated sellers to click, because once we get in front of them, we got to get them on our website so they can turn into a lead. So make sure you check out the next video. By the way, take screenshots of the keywords that you are selecting and put them in the comments, because literally the more I see you guys engaging with this, the more pumped I am to do it and the more work I put in these videos. So leave a comment, take a screenshot, just leave a little comment, say, yo, I did it. Let me know that you watched this. Remember, if you missed the first video, click that link as well. And I will be seeing you in the next video. Thanks for checking out the Big Fish Small Pond training series for this week. If you want to get the whole rest of this series, either look before or after this one, depending on which one you're listening to go get the rest of them. They are very high quality, and I hope you enjoyed it. Now, if you are curious about the Big Fish Small Pond training series and you want to get plugged into that, you want to get the videos, you want to ask about whatever programs we have, just drop me an email at danbarrettvip@gmail.com. That's DANBARRETTVIP@gmail.com. That's danbarrettvip@gmail.com. Drop me an email. I'll be happy to hook you up with whatever resources we have, and I look forward to talking with you. Thanks a lot.
This is the podcastfactory.com.